Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Marketing Uncensored. I'm Colin Slattery,
I'm Sam Tomlinson.
and in this episode, we're going to be talking about how to run effective promotions when everything is fucked. And if you're looking at the world right now, feels like everything's fucked.
Everything is fucked.
Speaking of
So,
fucked, how was your Memorial Day weekend?
well, my Memorial Day weekend was great, Colin. I found out what happens when you decline enough Google Ads reps calls.
Yeah?
You get a beautiful, beautiful treat.
They don't fuck
And
around.
they don't. Turns out they've got that team, you know, Irish shipyard workers.
The knee break team.
Yes. In all
So-
seriousness, we had a cooking incident with a steak exploding out of a pan and it resulted in some burns. But nothing that's going to stop this.
So what do you think about PMAX?
It is absolutely wonderful when you have a small brand and a small budget and good control and only a few products and very little ways for it to screw you.
Okay.
It's basically like smart shopping with ADHD.
Well, at least I know you're not being held hostage.
I'm not, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get into it, how was your Memorial Day weekend?
Cold and rainy, the same way it is every year. We rented a lake house where it was 50 degrees and rainy on the lake. So great
Perfect.
use of the weekend. Happens every year when we do something for Memorial Day. So I think we need to travel somewhere warmer that's guaranteed to be warmer. No more driving distance houses, I think is the plan.
I think that's a good plan. Memorial Day is always like the weird holiday. Because on one hand, I want to be happy about Memorial Day, but on the other hand, it's full of senior week and half-baked promotions and really nothing else to go along with it.
Yes.
It feels like baby summer.
It is baby summer because it's still spring, but great segue. How the Memorial Day sales go for clients? Did it feel good? Did it feel bad? Like, what's the situation?
So most of the clients that we had pulled back pretty heavily on the Memorial Day promotions. A lot of it was free shipping, minor discounts, smaller bundles, occasionally a little thing like a free gift with purchase. But it was a very far departure from what we have done in years past.
Okay. And that was strategic? Were they not excited about the current environment? Did they feel like everything was fucked, for example?
I think pretty much everybody felt like everything is fucked. A little bit was strategic. There's a lot, I think a lot of brands had what can only be described as a rough time in April, a little bit of a rough time in May. So there is some inventory reassessment that needed to be done, which led to some of those weirder bundles and offers and free gifts with purchase, where it's just, this thing's gone out of stock. We have too many of them. We couldn't move them in April because the economy sucked. We're scared to move them later because we don't know what the tariffs are going to look like. So let's just put this thing that we can't sell anywhere else into a Memorial Day offer and hope to God it sells.
So Memorial Day is generally a big sale event for a lot of brands, and for some it's even as big as Black Friday. It's the start to summer where we do typically see a lot of promotions happening as well. And so I think it's a great topic to be discussing right now based on how Memorial Day went for some brands, making changes and plans for what they're going to be doing in the summer, and as you brought up, the macro picture overall and how that kind of plays into what you're going to be doing from a promotional standpoint.
Yeah, the macro picture sucks for a lot of e-com brands right now. And honestly, I would say April, it felt like it was contained. Now it does not feel contained. Like home services is hit. I was just in Ocean City this weekend talking to one of the builders that I work with on real estate deals, and he said lumber prices are up 20-30%. He's having trouble with staffing, raising prices on all kinds of stuff just because getting anything is harder. Appliances, tile, grout, hardwood floors from some places, lighting, fans even. it's a bloodbath in a lot of these industries where I think, you kind of had the demand accordion has started to compress again because we had a period in April where basically I think every brand basically said stop, like just don't put stuff on containers. Well, when you don't put stuff on containers, container ships take 30, 45 days to get from, say, China to the United States. So when you don't put things on containers for a month, at least until, the art of the cave happened,
It's I mean
you end up in
that's where
this
we're getting right
situation
now.
where, yeah. And the other part of this, though, that no one talks about yet is container prices are about to go parabolic.
This is COVID 2.0 essentially from the shipping container standpoint from China to the US.
Yep. I
Um,
mean, I think it is not unheard of to see $10,000 containers by July.
yeah. Well, and the tariffs, I mean, and this is ultimately the big thing is like we're just starting to feel the impacts of the April stop, right? Like that's just now
Correct.
starting to happen. And that'll have a negative impact on consumer sentiment because there's going to be shortages most likely and nothing that's mission critical hopefully, but people will notice that there was a 60% drop in volume of goods coming from China and it doesn't just flip back around.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of brands are saying right now with their advertising is they're looking at it and saying it's more expensive. We have less margin than we've ever had before because we are paying what is a tax? It is a let's just call a spade a spade. It is a tax. It is a tax on American consumers and companies. And to your point, customers are increasingly price sensitive now because everybody looks around and they're like, oh my God, the price of whatever is now up because the reality is supply chains were kind of brittle and margins are thin. And, when you throw on a 10 or 20 or 50 or 240% tax on the cost of goods, you get problems.
You mean to tell me that businesses don't operate with like 70% margins where they can just eat a tripling of cogs?
I regret to tell you, Colin, we do not live in that world.
News to the
We do
American
not make 70%
consumer.
margin. Yes, that is news to a very large segment of the American population that happens to occupy the divorced from reality section of the horseshoe.
Yes. And I think you bring up a great point around cogs, and that is, you know, as they go up, right, because of tariffs, and the consumers are sensitive, like your ability to discount is weakened when your margins are compressed because the thing with discounts, and we're talking specifically about discounts now from a promotional standpoint, there are other promotional methods as everyone knows, but discounts come 100% out of margin, right? Like you don't get a discount
Correct.
on cogs when you're offering a promo to customers. That's all margin that you're losing.
Correct. I mean, that's the other part that I think everybody misses, right? Like most consumers don't do the math. They look at it like, oh, I got 10% off. The company made 10% less. No, that's not how that works because for most brands, like e-com brands, they're running at 20 to 30% margins if they are lucky, healthy, and viable. So if I lose 10% off the gross, I may be losing 30 to 50% off of my net
And
of that
again,
promo.
assuming healthy margins.
Right? And like it doesn't take if you assume that, I'm running at a 20% total margin, my AOV is $100, great. That means for every $100 in sales, I make $20 in profit. Well, pretty simple math, throw a 10% discount on that. Where's that discount coming from? Well, it comes after, like you said, everything else comes out. Your advertising costs, you don't get a discount on that. You don't get a discount on COGS. You don't get a discount on customer service. You don't get a discount on returns. You don't get a discount on shipping. Like net, the brand, in this case, it was 20% margins, went from making $20 on a $100 sale to $10. That's a 50% haircut to contribution margin.
Yep. No, I mean it's a challenge, and this is not the only challenge that's happening in the macro space. The consumers are losing discretionary dollars in other areas.
Of course.
Buy now, pay later is getting taken out to the woodshed.
Well, in fairness, I think people that were financing Chipotle burritos were probably not good credit risks.
I mean, I've got lots of burrito backed securities in my portfolio.
I don't really know who did the math on this and was like, you know who we should really extend credit to? The people that can't afford a $13 burrito from Chipotle. Like
Yep.
extra guac has gotten so bad, we need an installment loan. But from a marketing standpoint, if you tie this back to marketing, you start to look at it and you're saying, okay, well, you have a limited ability to discount. The brand has less total margin to play with. Customers have less money. So what do you do? Because no one knows what's going on. No one can make any reasonable plans. At least that's what I've heard from brand owner after brand owner. So it's even harder to justify, okay, we just got to eat this one because tariffs are going away and we can be confident in our Q3, Q4 forecast. I mean, I have not heard that from anyone.
Unless they're hanging out with the president and he's whispering stuff into their ears so that they can book their ocean freight a week ahead of announcements.
Well, I mean, apparently contributing, what was it, $150 million to his campaign isn't enough to get viable intel. So little hope here for e-com merchants.
Yeah. So no, that's a big. I mean, it's all a big challenge.
We need I guess if Elon names the next starship the Baron Trump Explorer or something, maybe that'll get him something. So basically, companies have less margin. No one has any idea what's about to happen. Consumers are more stressed about money than they've ever been, which is why they're turning to these buy now, pay later platforms to finance basic stuff like Chipotle burritos. And brands are sitting here thinking, how in the world do we acquire customers and move the product that we have in an environment where customers just keep losing discretionary income? Which brings us to the other fun announcement we've gotten since our last recording, Colin: student loans.
Yeah. Been concerned about this over the last couple of years, and that is the beginning of repayment of student loans, which is $25 billion a month in discretionary income, which is predominantly for younger people who are the ones who make stupid purchases for status reasons. So, yeah, that's another 25 billion in direct money that would otherwise be going to skincare and fancy shoes and watches that is now going to the federal government in the form of loan repayments.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that's absolutely damning about this is it's not even like a 1-to-1 out of the economy. It's probably closer to a 1-to-3 or a 1-to-4. I mean, which we both work with small brands. Like, we know, Johnny comes to one of your clients' e-com stores and he gives you, spends $100 on a pair of shoes. Well, that money doesn't just leave the economy. The brand that you work for takes that money and they pay their workers. The owner pays himself. The owner goes on vacation and spends that money. They reinvest in the community. They pay rent. Like, they do all these things with the money, and it's moving through the economy. And when you start to siphon that money out to the federal government, it doesn't do that anymore.
Who knew the velocity of money was a real thing?
Yeah, it turns out that maybe economists, while really shitty at some things, are actually relatively smart at some things too. So maybe two things could be true. But we do have something to save us. We have the big, beautiful bill, Colin. It is going through Congress. It is big. It is beautiful. It's not Lizzo. But
I can't wait for it. Clients will pay us in tips. It'll be fantastic. Better than moving to Puerto Rico.
Yes. Ironically enough, even Elon doesn't like this bill. But lost in the shuffle here is basically the following. Number one, the biggest headline is the no taxes on tips, which
the dumbest fucking policy in economic history, probably.
Yeah, there's that. That is an accurate statement. And the irony thing is, it's even false advertising, because you still will pay taxes. You will still pay all of the FICA taxes, which are for most low-income workers. And by low income, I'm saying under $50,000 per year earned, below the median wage, whatever you want to say. FICA at 7.65% makes up, we'll call it 50% of your federal tax bill. So it's not even no taxes. It's half taxes on tips.
I'd take half taxes.
I would take half taxes too. But at least let's call a spade a spade. I mean, I hate this policy. I hate it so, so much.
It's just ripe for abuse.
I mean, but like, I always look at economic policy as incentives, right? Somebody has to tell me that in a country where for every 5 skilled trades that are retiring, only 2 are entering, why are we saying that your labor as a plumber or a carpenter or an electrician or a mechanic or a sheet metal worker is worth less than a Hooters waitress? I'm not saying that waitresses and servers don't provide a valuable service. I'm simply saying that your incentives dictate and showcase what you actually value. And the thing that we claim to value as a country is building and creating. And it seems like the only thing this policy is advantaging is a certain section of the U.S. population, because
there aren't that many tipped
kicker,
workers either, which is the other
only like
thing.
4 million. But the part that really kills me is like the hardworking people in restaurant kitchens, the back of the house staff, the cleaning staff. All of these people are what make the experience that you have at a restaurant wonderful. I mean, I'm an investor in several restaurants, and I can tell you that our back of the house staff is incredibly diligent, and they are hardworking people, and they are good people. And the whole reason the front of the house runs smoothly is because there's a great back of the house. But there's no tax breaks for those people because they don't get paid on tips.
It makes absolutely no sense.
So, and then as an advertiser, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, how do I design promotions for people who are now going to have some extra money?
Well, they're probably the same people who also were financing the burritos, so it probably comes out in the wash.
But big winner, OnlyFans creators.
Feet pics are the new oil?
Yes, sir. You know it. Those tips are never going away.
Oh, and speaking of OnlyFans, they're trying to sell, and that company has $34 million in revenue per employee. This makes NVIDIA blush.
You know, it's a truly beautiful thing. It's like Craigslist.
Yep, that's another one. Hasn't updated since 1995.
Don't mess with a good thing. All right. So we've pretty much established that much of the economy is in one way or another fucked. Customers have less money. Brands have less money. No one has any certainty. Everybody needs to sell more stuff. Everybody's made big commitments. Everybody hoped and prayed that we were going to have a new era of delightful consumerism, and instead we got stuck with higher taxes, less certainty, and a whole bunch of skewed policies that make no sense. So,
also known as Trump 2.0.
Welcome to the party, ladies and gentlemen.
So,
all right,
with that,
so how do you find growth? Where do you find growth? Because that is the question that I think every CMO that I've talked to in the last 2 months has asked me.
It comes through promotions, as it always does. When a consumer is in an environment where there's, deal hunting going on, and if you don't have deals or are a ultra luxury brand, in which case none of this applies, you need to have a compelling reason for people to purchase now because there's concern about future dollars.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, the golden law of commerce is still true. If the value you create and deliver exceeds the price by a sufficiently large margin, you will get sales. The question is just, how do you build the value when you don't have the price to lower, right? I think that's the challenge that a lot of these brands are having. Because traditionally, that's how you flip the equation. You made the price less, you kept the value the same, and that tilts the equation more in the favor of sales. Well, now all these policies and all these realities have quite candidly just put a floor on how low that price can go before you're insolvent.
I think the challenge too is you have to get creative, which, let's be honest, not a lot of brands are particularly creative, especially if left to their own devices. They'll frequently, want to do something that is essentially worthless. And I just want to say, if you're listening, A, thank you. But B, if you do fucking trash offers, just stop. Like, no one cares about your 5% discount or, your 3-year old like product that nobody purchased as like a gift with purchase. Like, especially now, offers, and whatever that offer is, right? Gift with purchase, um, special like extras, limited
Mm-hmm.
edition products that you're giving away, discounts even. If your offer's not good, don't even fucking bother. Like,
Yeah,
don't.
pretty much. I think the problem that a lot of brands don't do is they don't do the math behind the offer, right? They're running with a garbage offer, and you think about the increment that you get on that offer, right? Like there's a certain section of a certain segment of your sales are going to happen no matter what, right? People are going to buy. And then there's this increment on top, this little increment where your promo is going to drive those people. And if your offer isn't compelling enough to make that increment sufficiently large to offset the decline in margin that you will get from your non-increment, the people that would purchase anyway, it's just not even worth doing the sale.
Yeah, you're literally losing money.
Correct. Right? Like
So,
that part's hard. I mean, and when you do like a basic example with a CMO, I think they get it, but they don't think about it intuitively. Like, imagine you're going to get your brand sells 100 widgets a day, right? No matter what you do, you sell 100 widgets and you make $10 a widget. Amazing. When you are on promo, you sell an extra 50 widgets, but you only make $5 because you've given away some of that margin, right? So on promo, you sell 150 widgets, the 100 you would have sold and the 50 extra. But on every widget that you sold during this promo, you're only making $5. Well, 150 times 5 is $750 in total profit, right? Like,
which is not more than 10 on 100.
correct. 100 sales at $10 a sale is $1,000. So you made effectively 25% less money by selling 50% more units because your promo wasn't good enough.
And this is actually like a fairly straightforward mathematical equation that you can use to model this out, but it also then like dovetails to, I think, an important discussion topic too, which is promotional goals, because we're talking like gross profit dollars as kind of this promo goal, right? But it could also be just gross number of new customers where your behavior is going to be different, turning over shit inventory, right? Like that is also a promo goal. Cash flow, right? So how you're going to structure it and how you look at this equation does vary based on what your goal is going to be. And kind of like the economics of your business, right? Like if you have incredible LTV, like you're a supplement company, you just want customers in the door because your repeat purchase rate is incredible, right? Then you don't really give a shit about the gross profit dollars. Like tank it down to 0. You just want the volume, but again, case by case and vertical by vertical situation.
For sure. But and we're also talking specifically ecom here, but the same principles apply across the board to lead gen, right? Like we both work, I think, with home services clients, and candidly, the math isn't different. It's more obscured, I think, in lead gen because you're like, oh, I'm running a roofing company and we're running 20% off your roof or whatever the deal is, right? But fundamentally, that still backs out to the same reality that we're talking about. There's just one more step where, somebody's got to come out, they measure the roof, they check the material, yada, yada, yada. But fundamentally, any brand that runs a discount must do this calculation or should do this calculation.
Absolutely. And, this is, I think, why one of the more appealing reasons to do other types of promos, right? Like gift with purchase, I think, is a promotion that does not get enough love because you are giving additional value, but the customer values that value much higher than the cost versus the discount that you're giving. So, for example, if you're offering something that is, $30 value and it costs you $3, right? That's a lot better than, a $20 discount, which is just all your margin, right?
Correct.
So gift with purchase, again, I think is underutilized because admittedly it is harder to do, and harder to do in a way that is compelling, because frequently the gift with purchase that people want to do is the garbage schlock that they couldn't sell. They're like, oh, we got a dusty box of old whatever in the fucking warehouse. Gift with purchase. It's like, that is not a gift that anybody wants.
No, but I mean, you're making a good point here, because this is basically like the relativity of value. Because to the customer, they value the whatever it is that you're giving away in a certain frame in their mind. You value it very differently because you're valuing it based on cost.
Right.
And I think where a lot of brand, like, I am so sick of getting free totes with offer whenever I have to buy something for Mother's Day. No mother wants another tote. They don't want them. Stop it. Make them go away. Make them die. Kill them with fire. Not the mothers, the totes.
I just got a lovely Google tote today.
But, like, no one wants it. So the value is zero, right? The whole point of a gift with purchase, and I think was what you're getting to, is to increase the perceived value of what you're offering such that relative to the price, it is more favorable.
Yes, exactly.
But if no one wants the thing, that's stupid. Where we've had success is cross-selling across lines, right? Like, you're a supplement company, but you have like a combination of, we have like a health company, right? And they do gym equipment, weights, et cetera, et cetera. And then they also have supplements, protein powders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? Well, one of the best things we can do for a gift with purchase is if you buy a machine, right? A one-time purchase, we free gift you some protein powder, because then I get you hooked on the protein subscription, which is recurring revenue, to your point. And yes, does it cost us something? Yes. Is it the cost on protein powder? Honestly, is not that high. The cost on whatever is not that high, but that to me is a gift with purchase that makes perfect sense, because not only are you giving something that the user will actually value, you are giving something that the user will value sufficiently to make more purchases of that thing going forward.
Cross-selling gift with purchase is, I think, underutilized. And for brands that have SKU catalogs that have, adjacent things, beauty, right? If you're selling a foundation, give away the mascara. And some companies do this, right? And do it pretty well. I think in beauty tends to be an area where it is generally pretty effective, but it's applicable across the board. And I think
100%.
The math is like, you can probably give away a full price, like full size product, and the economics for you, the brand, are better than if you were going to do a reasonably aggressive discount, because of the way your cogs are. Like, probably not true for every brand, but true for most, I would bet.
Yeah. I mean, the one brand that I think does a really nice job of this is like Hims and Hers Health. They are aggressive about giving you stuff that is unrelated to your core purchase. It's awesome. Like, I get protein powder and stuff from Hims, and I'm like, then they like throw in all kinds of other random stuff, and I'm like, you just sent a multivitamin for what? And it's a whole bottle of them, and I'm like, well, I don't really have a multivitamin that I take, so thanks.
And that cost them like $2.
Yeah, but now I'm going to go order Hims multivitamins, which are probably $35, and just add it to the recurring Hims order of like protein and nutritional shit and like all the other stuff, because it's easy. And you showed me that you're reasonably competent at providing men's multivitamins. So thank you.
Yep. One thing that we have done, which I love to do, which is a slight take on this, and that is like limited run, like actually, and the key here is actually limited, right? Where you do a custom whatever for the period.
Yep.
Like for the promotion. So you're a candle brand and you do a custom fragrance that you are giving away for this promotion. Mm-hmm. It is limited in quantity, and that is it. And you don't actually like redo it, resell it, whatever. That's it. It's a limited promotion. Some of this takes like consumer training where you're like, oh yeah, no, this is actually limited edition, and they actually start to believe it. But you're creating more perceived value in the minds of consumers. And that's what you want. This is also, again, the biggest challenge with discounts, because the perceived value is the actual value. Like,
Yes.
if it's $20 off, they value it at $20. And the
Yes.
problem is it's also
actually
$20 for you.
Well, it's more than $20 for you because it's 100% potentially of your profit. So in that case, the relative value of those two things is actually slanted so far against the brand, and no one does the math. But if you go the other way, one of my favorites that we've done is it's very dependent on the brand. It does not work for everybody, but like I just talked to advising one small startup company, and they make super healthy cookies, and I was like, these are people who are health nuts, who are all about stuff. I'm like, why are you giving them 15% off? Just say you're going to go plant an almond tree in California. And for every purchase, he, to his credit, reached out to his supplier and was like, how much does it cost to plant an almond tree? And the guy was like, it's 30 cents.
So they're planting a shitload of almond trees.
We are planting a shitload of almond trees because the person, forgive the whatever, but like the millennial / Gen Z yuppie who is buying a $5 baked good, oh, I planted an almond tree with this purchase. It makes them feel really good. It's great for the brand. It aligns with the customer. It shares their values. And it's 30 cents.
And the delta in actual cost to perceived value is colossal.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you think about that 15% off, I think their AOV was about $50. Well, that 15% off, that's $7.50, a chunk of money. But if you think about going from $7.50 in a discount to 30 cents, well, $7.20 is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of margin.
And I think brands should actually think about this, right? Take your AOV, like take whatever discount you were going to do, like 20%, right? And then see how much that discount actually equates to like product at a COGS level. And you're going to be like, oh, holy shit. Like we can give away a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And again, now you're like, okay, well, we've got the actual value of that product. And the consumer is, you can start to see how like this makes sense for you as a brand and for the consumer as well, because they just like the perception is just completely different. Like $20 on COGS is that's a lot of value. Much more than what the actual $20 the customer's discounting.
I think this is something that a lot of marketers need to start, like, not to bring AI into everything, but AI is in everything. So what the hell, right? But people, I keep getting asked, like, well, what are marketers going to do? Like when Gemini 2.5 makes amazing ads. Like, so what do you do? Like, well, your job is to actually go back to being a marketer. Your job is to think about, how do I make the business better, not how do I make ads better or how do I push buttons better. And I think that part of the reason why we have such shitty offers is because we have trained an entire generation of marketers to just push buttons better, not to actually build businesses better.
Just like, oh, 20% discount, easy, no creativity.
Right. But I think, to your point, people need to get better at this. You need to think about different ways to frame the offer. And the other reason I think this works is because, to be very candid, to steal a line from Ogilvy, the customer is an idiot. And what I mean by that is customers are really, 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 really terrible at making non-direct comparisons. Every study, every time you do it, it's true. And when a customer is comparing a 10% off offer to plant a almond tree, the answer is does not fucking compute. So they think they're the same, because otherwise they would have to make a judgment about which one is better.
Well, it's a snap.
So they're just like,
judgment.
okay, great,
Like,
this one makes me feel better. Right.
It's snap too, right? Like it's people. They're not sitting there and thinking about it, and they're not doing math in their head. Like it's.
No.
You need to hit it. It's psychology.
Right. But where they are doing math in their head is when it's all apples to apples. 10%, 20%, 10%, they're doing that math in their head and they're going, oh, 20% is the best deal. Are they actually doing the math in their head about how much 20% equates to and the value and the size? Probably not. But are they actually oh, these guys are giving me 10% off. Oh, this is 30% off for Memorial Day. Oh, I'm going to go here.
Yeah,
But the second you change the frame, it breaks everything.
and the thing is like that 10-20% comparison that they can do in their head, right? Again, this gets back to them anchoring the value at the previous price. This is why discounts work, because they're like, oh, this is worth $100. It's 20% off. I'm getting it for $80. Like, I'm getting extra value.
Hashtag girl math.
Yes. I'm not going to say it. And you can hack that thinking by changing the value on the other end, right? Yes. Increasing the value, increasing the perceived value, and making sure that you have like that delta there.
100%. The other piece that we do have to talk about for a couple minutes here is you have to train customers to not expect discounts. And I think a lot of brands are struggling with this right now. Like when I am going and talking to brands, they're like, oh, well, we had a 10% off and that didn't get us enough sales. So we went to 15% off. And
do not be Joseph A. Bank.
Please don't. Please don't do that. It's not a winning strategy. But so many brands, I think, have trained their customers. This is the best way to say this, but it's like a Pavlovian thing where you have created these brands, marketers have done this. Like, let's not beat around the bush. Like a whole generation of marketers has screwed up consumers because every time they do something wrong, we reward them with more discounts.
You've set the perceived value at the discounted value.
Correct.
And the like regular full price is not a price that's not what
real.
Consumers value it at. Because it's never that price. It's always a lower price, a different price.
Yeah, and you've also trained customers that like, a very simple example. I was doing some shopping where we're renovating a bathroom. So I was doing some shopping on like faucets, which is the least sexy thing in the world to shop for, but you got to do it. I went around, I added a couple faucets to carts, and sure enough, my inbox, I've got 10% off, 15% off, 20% off. I'm like, I didn't do the thing I was supposed to do. I misbehaved as a consumer. I added it to the cart and I left. And you're rewarding me with a discount. So what do you think you're actually what's the incentive structure here for the consumer? Well, add stuff to carts and leave because that's how you get more discounts.
People literally talk about that where they're like, oh, just as like a strategy. They're like, I add products to the cart and I like go through the checkout process partially and then I leave and I wait for the better discount to come in the email.
My wife's friends talk about this all the time. That's their entire shopping strategy.
Which another like in talking about effective and smart things to do in execution of promotions, like do not extend them, right? No promo sale extended. Like, hey, it's still Black Friday. No. Like, again, you're training bad consumer behavior. So the promo's over. That's it. It's done. Sorry. Maybe you should have bought. Like, deadlines matter. Timing matters. Like,
100%.
Don't do that shit.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is actually, and ironically enough, AI is actually very good at this, is like set up a little agent workflow for your competitors and track their promos and just have it populate into a Google sheet. Crawl competitor website, get offer, post in sheet. Rinse and repeat it every week. And you can more or less see the certain competitor brands that we all know, they run sales kind of on like a rotating basis to avoid things like California, right? But the second you know you can start to see a pattern pretty quickly. The second you know when that pattern is, you can front run the offer. And to your point, end it before they do, take the money off the table, and all of a sudden their offer starts to suck.
I mean, that's some next level shit. But
I'm just here for the fun. I'm here to hurt people's feelings.
It's like, and I think another thing to think about from brands who do get stuck in this trap is we already talked about it. Discounts are a majority of your margin. So brands that have to discount because they've trained their consumers to expect discounts are just running at worse margins.
Yes.
As a business. So it's just the worst possible environment to get into. And it's short term too, right? It's something that people get excited about because you run a promo and you're like, oh, we generated all of this sales volume. Like, this was awesome. Maybe we do it again. And then, it's like heroin addiction, right? Like, that first hit is so good. It's just like, that feels good. And then you need a little more, and it doesn't hit as good. And then you need a little more, and it doesn't hit as good. And then you're given hand jobs in an alleyway for $5. Like,
And
don't
that's
do
how you get-
discounts, ladies and gentlemen.
And this is how discounts lead to fentanyl epidemics. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And the other part that no one tells you about as a brand is that the second you get hooked on those discounts, the longer you go before breaking the habit, the harder it is, because the more customers you have to retrain.
Yep. And the more you're going to lose, too. That's the other thing. Like, we've worked with brands where, they're in this cycle and they're like, we want to get out. And it's a conversation where your current customer, like, record is essentially worthless, because the percentage of them that are going to be able to be trained to buy at the full price is pretty small, right? Like, they view you as a budget discount brand because that's what you were doing. And it's very hard to change that impression.
It is. I mean, and you almost have to pair that initiative with some real material changes to your business, which no one tells you about. It's not just a marketing problem at that point. Like, you need either changes to product, you need changes to operating procedures, you need changes to how your sales team sells if you are, a B2C brand or a B2B brand. Like, don't be QuickBooks. Like, QuickBooks is 90% off for, like, I don't know, Sacagawea Day. Like, just don't do that, because getting out of that is brutal.
And it's bad for your business, right? Like, promotions should be planned, have a very finite amount of time that they're going to run. You should warm people up in preparation for said promotions. And then when they end, they're over. And if people didn't get it, tough shit. Like, better luck next time.
But it's actually good, because then people will tell their friends, like, no, I didn't get the deal.
And more people will end up taking advantage of it. That's the thing, right? Like, because we know, like, with Black Friday, I mean, this is like being trained now with Black Friday. It's people like, oh, well, we'll wait till Cyber Monday, because sometimes the Cyber Monday deals are better, right? And so people are just sitting on their dollars waiting. And you want people to, like, when they see that come in, right? The offer, the discount, the limited edition gift with purchase that you are offering, that they have to actually act right now. They got to spend the dollars, because the discount goes away, the thing runs out of stock, and that's it. Like, you need to create scarcity in the mind of your consumers.
There needs to be real consequences for not taking the discount.
Yes. Or the gift with purchase.
Correct. Or whatever it is. Like, the donation to charity. Like, we've preserved...
The almond tree.
The almond tree. I've preserved acres of rainforest.
If you don't take this offer, we'll burn an almond tree down.
I'm not opposed. But, I mean, it's...
Like, plant one, or we're committing arson on your behalf. Your choice.
You gotta do what you gotta do. But I think people need to be more intentional about their discounts. I think brands need to start thinking much more holistically about how we integrate promotions into a broader calendar and creating moments around those, because right now, candidly, a lot of marketing around discounts just sucks.
It's fucking terrible. It's 2 weeks out. They're like, hey, we're not hitting our numbers. Let's do a 20% off promotion. And everyone's like, yeah, sounds great. And no one thinks about the margin. No one thinks about the brand equity. Like, no one thinks about anything. It's not planned out. There's no warm-up period. And then they're like, Arbor Day sale extended. And then, like, that's it.
Yeah, no. If anybody asks you to extend a promotion, the answer should be no.
Yeah, and if your agency suggests it,
you should fire them. Yes, do not do that. Do not extend sales. Sales happen and then they go away. And then customers learn that the sale is the only time to get the deal. But the second you extend it, you reward the wrong behavior.
Again, people are dogs. So ring the food bell, but don't keep ringing it.
Correct. Because it just doesn't work. And I mean, ultimately, I look at our job as we're here to make the business better. That doesn't always mean selling more. That means more money available to the owners, the investors, etc., to do with what they want, a healthier business.
Yeah.
And short-termism is a problem in marketing because everybody's trying to hit these stupid, like arbitrary monthly numbers. And I'm like, doesn't matter. If you broke the business to hit the number, what did you gain?
Right. It's like, great, nice top line, but as it goes up, your losses go up too.
Correct.
Congratulations on your $150 million in revenue that cost $250 million to acquire.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen more brands go bankrupt due to success than failure.
Well, success.
Yeah, lots of sales, but those losses
Not a lot of
compound.
profit, which keeps the business actually running.
Yeah, that's what actually that's what pays the revenue. So, I think if you listen to this and you're like, okay, what should I take away from this? It's be more intentional about your promotions. Think differently about your promotions. And when that urge comes to give 10 or 20 or 30% off for, I don't know, Arbor Day, don't. Think of a better way to do this. Like,
yeah. Use the psychology to your advantage, right? Like, understand that perceived value and actual value are two very different things, and leverage that to your benefit.
Correct. And with the other thing that I think more brands should be thinking about as we like start to wrap this thing up is if you believe that customers are going to have less money going forward for all of the reasons we talked about at the outset, it is actually to your advantage to start thinking about more creative promotions sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Because if you think about this from a purely logical standpoint, because consumers get basically a bucket of money a month, right? That's when the vast majority of people in the country are paid on either a bi-weekly or a bi-monthly schedule. Some are paid weekly, etc., right? You get money. Well, they're going to spend that money. So the sooner you can take your share of that money, the less that's available for the other people to take from them. It's mean and perverse, but that's the reality. Like, if you can get a promotion that is sufficiently compelling earlier, you make a customer commit to you, you take that money off the table, great. Now everybody else gets to fight around Prime Day for the scraps of what's left. So when you're designing that Father's Day campaign, take this advice. Don't suck.
And with that, we're fucking out of here.
Yeah, we're done.